What's up, cyber and crypto friends? Hope everybody's having a great week so far. Today is June the 12th of 2019. This is episode number 75 of the Cybersecurity and Cryptocurrency Podcast. I'm your host, Eric English. All the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely my opinions and do not reflect that of my employer. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at CyberCryptoGuy. That's CyberCryptoGuy on Twitter. All right, with all that out of the way, got a couple of fun topics to talk about outside of news-related things. But we'll start with going over the news-related stuff, what we're going to touch on today. Going to talk a little bit about Evite, what happened to them. Going to talk about another Rowhammer attack. Also going to talk about some FBI warnings that they just issued. Coinbase on the crypto side of things, a new thing that they're doing. We're also going to talk, obviously, about the crypto prices, how those things are fluctuating up and down. Going to talk also a little bit about Komodo, the cryptocurrency Komodo, and what happened there. Also on the cybersecurity side, there's a pretty big Linux vulnerability that we're going to touch on as well. So before I get into all that, just some work-related things that I thought was pretty cool. Wanted to bring up here. I've talked about it before, but if you don't already do it, password cracking at work it's hilarious more than anything. But just finding out how weak the passwords actually are. If you can get clearance to crack these passwords, that is. Some companies may not let you do that, but fortunately, I have the opportunity to use Hashcat and some GPUs and crack hashes and get people's passwords. And it's fun because we've made it a competition. Like who's going to get their password cracked? And if you do, you get shamed, essentially. And if you don't, then you can brag. You got bragging rights. So if you don't already do something like that, I'd highly recommend it just because I think it's better overall for security for people to be trying to make a good password rather than something that's just easy to remember. Now, I said all that to say that Microsoft is now pushing to go to a passwordless login. And that's been their biggest push in Windows 10 version 1903. And they're trying to get to passwordless logins. So essentially what they're saying is that you would use the Microsoft Authenticator app on your phone to verify a number. So the number on your computer when you log in is the same on your phone. In the Authenticator app, you tap on the number in the app, and it would continue logging you in, and therefore not needing any sort of password. Microsoft also said that passwords should never be changed. And this is also kind of spinning off of the NIST guidance that says that passwords should not be changed. They should just be set to something, good to start with that people can remember. I'm not sure where you fall on the side of this fence, but I guess I'm on the side of they do need to be changed. And not all accounts are created equal either, right? You got privileged accounts, you got non-privileged accounts. For non-privileged accounts, as long as you're locking them down as best you can and there's no real threat to not changing the password, sure, I guess that's okay. But any kind of privileged accounts, why would you not want to change the passwords? I guess I don't necessarily agree with the NIST standard or Microsoft in that aspect. I do like the passwordless thing. I think biometrics is probably a big part of this as well. It's where we need to get going to in the Authenticator apps and things like that. That way there are fewer passwords to remember, and that'll certainly make it easier on everybody. But I'd be curious your take on the resetting passwords thing and changing passwords thing. Do you think it's a good thing to not change passwords, or do you feel like you need to change passwords on all of your accounts? So I've had executives now asking me, well, Microsoft's saying not to do this, and so does NIST. So why are we changing our passwords every, 60 to 90 days, whatever it is? And that's a tough conversation to have, but it's certainly something you want to start thinking about. Obviously, executives can have a different opinion than you do, and that's okay. The point is that you discuss it with them, you tell them the pros and cons, and then let them make the final decision. And as long as you've told them everything that they need to go from a risk perspective, and they understand it all and you're good to go, then, hey, they make the choice from there. But I still think they do need to be changed, maybe not every 90 days, maybe not every 60 days. Maybe push it to 6 months if that's really what people have to do. But privileged accounts do need to be changed more often, especially in a Windows environment. Your passwords are cached on any system that you log into in a Windows environment. So right there, if you don't change your passwords ever, and somebody gets a hold of, somebody's laptop gets stolen or whatever, and the person that stole it actually knows what they're doing, rather than pawning it for money, they could easily pull the hashes from the hard drive, as long as the hard drive is not encrypted, pull the hashes and then start cracking those hashes. And typically when you're setting up a computer for the first time, you got to log in with a domain admin account to, join it to the domain or whatever you do, some sort of an admin account to do some configurations on there. If you're not changing those passwords, somebody could easily get that domain admin password. I've seen this type of thing done during pen tests, internal pen tests, where the pen testers will come in and you basically give them a system that you say, hey, this one's clean and it's got nothing on it other than our business applications, and it's got basic access with a generic account, see what you can hack. And it was pretty incredible to see that these guys were very quickly and easily able to pull the hashes and start cracking those hashes. So that's always something you want to think about as far as risk goes when you're not changing your passwords. My opinion is that you still change them. How frequently, I guess that's up to you, but Microsoft and NIST now both say that you don't have to. Anyway, I thought that was worth mentioning. That was a pretty big topic of discussion this week, and certainly something to keep in mind, especially with more and more providers looking to move to a no password. Google's already been pushing this as well, to move to a no password type of a login. So, all right, so let's go ahead and jump over to the news-related stuff. If you haven't already heard, Evite, the company that does all the invitations, the e-invitations, they got hacked. Of course, this is just one of several that have happened over the last week or so. So not only Evite, it was also the Border Protection Service. They got photos and license plates stolen. A retro gaming website called Emu Paradise, they got hacked. So there's just a whole bunch of different hacks that are happening here. And all these things are getting posted on haveibeenpwned.com. So if you use Evite, here's your opportunity to go change your password if you haven't already. All right, there's a new Rowhammer attack called Rambleed. And some folks in Australia, some academics from Australia, basically found this new attack. And it's stemming off of the original Rowhammer attack, but it can be used to steal information from a targeted device as opposed to altering existing data or elevate an attacker's privileges, like all the previous Rowhammer attacks did. So pretty interesting stuff there. Obviously, the different system, whatever system you're on, has to be vulnerable to this type of attack. Android phones were vulnerable to the Rowhammer attacks. They did, patch that, but there are some others that are still vulnerable to this type of attack. But they're saying different types of RAM, like DDR3, DDR4, they were able to do these attacks. A lot of the stuff is done via JavaScript. They were also doing it with the Microsoft Edge browser, and they even did it in Linux. So, pretty crazy stuff. Kudos to these guys for finding it, but certainly an interesting new twist to the Rowhammer attack. So check that one out. I'll post it in the show notes if you want to read more about it. All right, some other news here. I love this from the FBI. All these make me really laugh. The FBI warns, why do they even post these articles? I don't get it. But the FBI warns users to be wary of phishing sites abusing HTTPS. Did we really need an FBI warning for that? I mean, come on, guys. Seriously, we know that anybody can use an HTTPS site. It doesn't make it legit. I'm not sure that any of us needed a warning. I guess, if you don't work in tech at all and you just don't understand computers whatsoever, then yeah, I guess maybe you needed to be told this. But I think for the vast majority of folks, this is kind of a duh. And why they need to issue these quote-unquote warnings is beyond me. I just think it's funny more than anything. I was joking earlier that I'm going to start issuing my own warnings of really obvious things that you should be doing. Something like, Cyber Crypto Guy warns that ransomware is bad. Something very, very obvious. Anyway, I see so many of those articles talking about warnings from so-and-so, and it just makes me laugh more than anything. All right, some other news here on the crypto side of things. Coinbase has expanded their Visa debit card services to 6 European countries. So this type of service is where crypto gets a much bigger buy-in. This is making it easy. This is making it easily accessible, easily spendable using these Coinbase Visa cards. So now that people can go to the store and swipe their Visa card and use their crypto to pay for things, there's going to be a lot more people doing it. That's my suspicion, at least. This just makes it 10 times easier. And kudos to Coinbase. There are other services doing this as well, not just Coinbase, but Coinbase did come out with this a while back for U.S. customers. And now they're just continuing to expand that program. But kudos to them. That's certainly what cryptocurrency needs. It needs more adoption. It needs to be easier to use. Trying to send money back and forth if you're not tech savvy at all, it's very confusing at first, and you may not know what the heck to do. So kudos to them. They're expanding that Visa program there. Some other crypto news. The cryptocurrency called Komodo, they hacked themselves to protect their customers from hackers. Thought this was kind of an interesting article. It was posted on the Hacker News. And essentially, they found a bug, and in their particular type of wallet, they found a bug. And the hackers could have transferred money out. They used a really funny word here. Unauthorizedly? Is that even a word? Anyway, that's in the article. You can see that. But essentially, they were transferring money out, or they could have transferred money out of that person's account, as they say, unauthorizedly. But anyway, I guess that's good for Komodo, hacking themselves on this and getting out in front of it before it became a big issue. All right. Also, some other stuff here. The overall crypto prices have been pretty, I say steady, but come on, now we all know that's a joke. It's been up and down, of course, over the last week or so. We went all the way down to 7,400, I want to say. Today we're up above 8,100. We're at 8,143 as of right now. So certainly on the upward swing. Ethereum's at 256. The big one here is Litecoin. It made a huge jump over the last few weeks. It's up to $133. That's probably one of the biggest jumps that we've seen in quite a while. And why all of a sudden for Litecoin? I don't get it. But hey, whatever. Also, too, if you use Coinbase and you haven't already done this, they have their coinbase.com/earn, where you can get free crypto if you haven't already done that. It's super easy. They just make you watch some videos, and the answers are extremely obvious. And you can get yourself, $30 or $40 in various different forms of crypto. So go out there and check that out if you haven't already done it. It's completely free. You just got to sign up for an account. And then go to coinbase.com/earn. Get you some free crypto. I found another trick, too, on Coinbase. They have a crypto on there now called DAI. And DAI is always worth $1, no matter what. It's essentially based off of the Ethereum blockchain, and it's always worth $1. So why does that matter? Well, Coinbase allows you to make transfers for free. Transfer it to, I shouldn't say make transfers, swap to a different currency for free. So you can trade your DAI for Ethereum, and then trade Ethereum for Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. So when Bitcoin dips, or heck, before Bitcoin dips, if you sold today at 8,100 or traded today to this DAI, you would be keeping those profits if the market dips any further. First, you'd have to convert it to Ethereum. Then from Ethereum, you can convert it over to this DAI. And basically, you can hold that fund there in the DAI wallet. And when the market tanks again, you can start buying in again and then hoping that it goes back up. And once it does, then you can trade back out into this DAI coin. So certainly a cool way to play the market a little bit and make a little bit of money on it if you're smart about it and you know how to ride the waves. That's a pretty easy way to do it. But you do have to go from DAI to Ethereum first, and then from Ethereum you can trade it out to any other crypto that Coinbase supports. Thought that was pretty cool though. So if you got a bunch of funds there in Coinbase, you might look at doing that, especially with all the market ups and downs. I mean, you could really make some good money on that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Some other news. I forgot to mention the Linux vulnerability on the cybersecurity side of things. This was the VIM vulnerability, also NeoVim. Essentially, they're saying that a specially crafted text file, or really any format file, can be used to execute arbitrary operating system commands on the victim's system. So all they have to do is open it up with VIM, and boom, they can now get hacked. So check that one out if you're a big Linux user and you use VIM. I use Nano personally, but everybody's got their own thing that they like to use. All right, folks, that's all I got for today. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at CyberCryptoGuy, at CyberCryptoGuy on Twitter. Check me out on there. I retweet a bunch of the articles we talk about here on the show. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.